Vizcaya Museum and Gardens is a National Historic Landmark. And this year, they're celebrating the centennial of the magical 10-acre gardens.
Hi, I'm Ian Simpkins. I'm Senior Director of Horticulture and Sustainability here at Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. And I'm excited to say that this year is the centennial of our gardens. They have been here on the shores of Biscayne Bay withstanding hurricanes and everything else for the past 100 years.
We show you all that goes into maintaining and preserving these beautiful gardens on today's SoFlo Home Project. Welcome to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra. Vizcaya Museum and Gardens was the winter home of James Deering. It's one of the most well-preserved examples from an era in the U.S. when the wealthy built estates inspired by stately homes in Europe. Today, we look at the secrets to maintaining an Italian-style garden in South Florida, how symmetry adds to the beauty of any garden, creating drama with succulents, and much more. So we are here today at the beautiful Vizcaya Museum and Gardens, and we are in the garden joined by Senior Director of Horticulture and Sustainability, Ian Simpkins. Ian, welcome. So happy to have you here today.
Pleasure to be here.
So you have been with Vizcaya for quite a few years now, yes?
Yes, I've been here almost 15 years.
Let's start with some of the history of how these gardens were designed, because when you look around, it obviously doesn't feel like typical tropical climate type of landscaping.
Right. The landscape architect, Diego Suarez, was not entirely familiar with the property when he began to design the gardens. When he arrived on the property after a 2-day train ride from New York, he realized that the design would not work. In Italy, in the Tuscan region where Diego Suarez was trained, there are hills and rivers and all kinds of things. In South Florida,
we don't have here.
Exactly, exactly. And so he realized that as the sun traversed the sky over the course of the day, it would reflect off of the water and it would shine right into the house, blinding everyone in the house. So the gardens are 10 full acres that surround the house, and they're inspired by Italian and French garden design.
So you got that great fusion of two beautiful styles.
Correct. The gardens were designed to take you to another place and time.
And it certainly does. I want to talk about where we're standing right now. I mean, we've got a lot of symmetry in here. I see some beautiful topiaries and oak trees.
So right now we're on the center island. And when the gardens were designed, they were designed in an axial symmetry, meaning you have one view shed off to this way, one through the middle, and one off to the other side. That's called a goosefoot pattern, very, very French. So what's really interesting is they had to adapt a formal Italianate, formal French design to South Florida, which is an entirely different climate.
Of course.
And so one of the really unique things I think they did was use live oaks, which are native to South Florida. The oak trees that surround us here are clipped very tightly into a boxed shape.
And of course, we are surrounded by beautiful water features here.
Yes, and when the gardens were designed, it was intended that the visitor was never out of earshot of water. And that's intended to have a very cooling effect. And it's also very calming because it drowns out a lot of the background noise.
Absolutely. I could hear the water in the background right now, and it's really nice.
And especially these days with planes and equipment and everything going on.
What type of maintenance does it take to keep these grounds so beautiful?
So they're extremely intensively managed, and we also have 300,000 visitors a year. So managing the effect of all of those feet is something that we have to work very hard to mitigate.
I could imagine, because this is such a popular destination for both tourists and locals.
It is.
And I cannot wait to continue touring through some of the gardens here at Vizcaya when we come back.
Let's go.
Coming up, the use of symmetry and architectural elements to enhance the beauty of the gardens on SoFlo Home Project. Welcome back to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we are continuing our tour of the beautiful Vizcaya Museum and Gardens in the gardens with Senior Director of Horticulture and Sustainability, Ian Simpkins. Ian, before the break, we took a look at just a little hint, the first glimpse of the gardens. And now we're just off to the side of that, where the symmetry continues. James Deering built his beautiful estate in the early 1920s. He set out to create a stately European-style villa with 10 acres of Italian-inspired gardens. So first, let's kind of explain what the structure is behind us. It's beautiful.
Sure. This is what we call the West Lily Pool, and it mirrors the East Lily Pool, which is on the other side of the gardens.
So beautiful.
Yeah, and the pink water lilies that you see in here are descendants of the original water lilies that were brought to the property in 1922 when the ponds were filled for the first time. And then flanking those are two gazebos, which mirror the two gazebos on the other side of the gardens. And these are called pepper pot gazebos because they look like a pepper pot, something that you would, sprinkle pepper on.
Absolutely. Oh, okay, get that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they're coated with a clinging vine. It's creeping ficus. And the reason they specified creeping ficus is because it can be trimmed very tightly. So we can get the effect that these gazebos are actually made out of plants.
It's almost like a topiary type of a shape.
They almost look like topiary when in fact it's just a very thin shell of vine growing over top of cement structure.
So now we've got beautiful columns and there's some busts and some vases. So what, all of that behind us, was that all bought in from areas around the globe? I know you had mentioned that a lot of this is influenced by many different parts of the world.
Some of the statuary was brought in from Italy. Some of it was actually created here. So if you look at these columns, you'll see that some of the columns are made of marble.
Yes. And
some are made of very porous coral stone.
I love the way the columns are that mix because it truly brings in that stamp of South Florida as well, right?
It does. Coral stone was used specifically, one, because it's endemic. It creates a very local feel to the property.
Gives it that flavor, yeah.
And it also erodes very quickly and discolors very quickly, which gives a feeling of age. So these gardens were meant to appear old from the very start.
And we have got more of the gardens to tour here on this beautiful 10-acre property. But before we take you through, let's check in with our friends from FHIA and see what they have going on today.
Hey, my name is Kevin Melendez. I'm actually a field manager here for FHIA. Been here for the last 3.5 years. Well, here at FHIA, one of the most important things for us is customer satisfaction. We like to have customer satisfaction at all times. So from the beginning, we like to let them know that we are there for them for any questions and anything they need. And after the process, we want to make sure that the product that we give the individuals, they're happy with, that this is what they paid for, this is what they're looking for.
The process itself was not painful at all with the windows or the roof. So I definitely do recommend people to go through your company because it just was a smooth transition from that old cruddy looking roof to this beautiful roof we have now.
I believe what makes us different compared to all of our competitors will be not only the product that we have, our customer service, what we're able to communicate at all time with the customer, everything that we're able to give them. All of our installers are all factory certified installers, which that means that we'll be doing a job correctly from start to finish. It'll guarantee the work for all the factory warranties that you might ask for, and it's all what we need to pass inspection and complete the job. Well, warranty issues are very simple for us. We like to go back out to the customer. We have our own inspectors who will verify the product, see if there was any damage, any other concerns that the customer might have. We'll send our technicians out. If we're not able to fix it with our technician, we do have warranty on product that we're able to order, reorder, replace at no cost to the customer. Some of the great things that we hear from customers is actually the good customer service our team provided, with all the communication steps that we take to assure that the customer is happy at all times. Most of our calls are actually from a customer who actually recommended somebody, and that's mainly all the customers that we get would be from our feedback of how we did our job, how good we did our job, and how we completed the job as the customer wanted.
Let Kevin and all the experts at FHIA help you with your roofing project. Call FHIA Remodeling at 888-828-FHIA.
So Ian, we are here in what is called the Rose Garden.
Yes,
And I love that each area of the gardens itself has sort of its own story to tell.
a lot of them do. And this garden was originally called the Rose Garden. Today it's called the Rose Garden or the Fountain Garden because of the Sutri fountain behind me here. And this garden was originally designed with a series of landscaped panels in various shapes that would radiate out from the center of this fountain, much like the spokes in a wheel. And each bed would have roses in the center and a low shrub border around it. And so in 1926, when the Great Miami Hurricane came right over Vizcaya and wiped these gardens out as a Category 4.
Wow.
So even today, hurricanes is something that we have to worry about in this garden because it's right next to the bay.
I can imagine.
It's not protected very well. We have fortunately been able to receive funding to begin to restore the Rose Garden. And what you're looking at here in front of me is our second phase. And we're just about to embark on the third and final phase.
And what will that entail? Because I know we have some what looks like would have been water features on these areas.
Yes.
Will there be a return to water?
This fountain will be running, so it'll be a really spectacular thing to see.
Absolutely. Well, this has been beautiful. We've got a lot more to see in these 10 acres, and we're going to continue taking you on through the beautiful gardens here at Vizcaya when we come back. Coming up next, we enter the secret garden, where we get to explore all the drama created in this great walled space on SoFlo Home Project. Welcome back to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we are continuing our tour of the magical gardens here at Vizcaya. The gardens at Vizcaya were completed in 1922. It remains one of the most intact examples of grand homes inspired by European estates. It includes 10 acres of incredibly maintained and landscaped grounds.
This is one of my favorite spaces in Vizcaya's gardens. This is called the Secret Garden. And it received its name because it's designed after the Giardino Segreto at the Villa Gambaraya, which is outside of Florence.
So more of that
Italy.
European influence in the gardens.
More Italian influence. Originally, right after it was completed, it was called the Orchid Garden because the wall pots that you see behind me here were supposed to hold orchids. And it didn't work. Wrong type of orchids, wrong exposure. As you can see, it's very windy here. We're right next to the bay.
Yeah, we're getting a nice breeze right through here.
What we have done in this garden is to really kind of have fun with it. So we really wanted to create something very dramatic and very exciting. This whale's tongue agave that's right in front of me here will actually get about this big around.
Wow.
And it will have a flower stalk about 15 feet high.
A lot of drama here.
Yes, very dramatic plants.
And as I look around, I almost feel like it's almost like an under the sea vibe, and I don't know if it's the coral rock.
Yeah.
And then the way some of the succulents almost seem like a coral of sorts in the look.
Yeah, very much so. We have this tapeworm plant right here that looks like seaweed. We have the agaves, we have ripsalis back here, which is a succulent that hangs down. So it does kind of have that sort of under the sea type of effect. It's very fantastical, and that's what we wanted to do.
It is.
One of the really interesting things that you'll see in the Vizcaya garden, and this secret garden is no exception, is you have a procession. Mm-hmm. And that's because the gardens were designed masterfully to take you through sections of light and sections of shadow. And that's your transition to the next space. And so you feel like you're actually walking through something and you're part of something.
It's a great series of moments as you walk through, and like you said, a procession. And I love that at the very end here, through the architectural details, through the archway, you get this beautiful peek of the bay and the water. And it's like this magical moment too, because we're here immersed in all of this beauty. It's like its own picture perfect moment right through that
And that's
archway.
another thing that this garden does beautifully, is it gives you just a glimpse of what lies beyond, which pulls you through the space.
Here we see another color change.
Yes.
We have this sort of beautiful pale yellow tonality mixed with the coral rock around it. Another opportunity to sort of infuse color to contrast with the greenery.
Yes. By having that pop of color in the plastered areas, it really makes the architectural elements that are carved from that coral stone pop.
It does. So we have seen so much of the beautiful outdoor spaces, and there is a lot.
There's a lot.
And we are now going to show you a little bit of bringing the outside indoors. So stay with us, because we're going to check that out when we come back. Next, we step inside the villa and look at what it takes to create an inside-out space on SoFlo Home Project. Back to SoFlo Home Project. I'm Alena Capra, and we are continuing to tour the beautiful Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. So, Ian, we have seen a lot of the outdoor spaces. I know there's 10 acres of beautiful grounds, and we've seen just a little snapshot of so many beautiful areas. But now we're indoors.
Yes.
But still feels like we're outdoors.
It does.
It's been on trend to bring the outdoors in recent times, but this really has been here since the beginning.
Yes, and of villas and historic homes of this grandeur, of this time period, it's extremely rare to see a house built around a garden like you would see here. And it's very European in concept and execution, like the rest of the garden. So it really makes perfect sense. And then it was a way of making the house connect with the gardens. So you have the gardens moving into the house and through the house to the gardens on the north side.
It really is a great connection, and we talked about symmetry as a theme throughout as we toured different areas of the gardens, and of course, no different here.
Yes.
We're getting this beautiful mirrored image of the gardens, and now I feel in here it's a little bit more tropical
Yes.
than some of the things. Is there any specific reason that maybe some things are better for in this area versus other areas of the garden, or is it just for a different look?
Well, we have a couple plant species in here that we selected specifically because it is indoors. It is under climate control, and so we decided to trial a few really strange things that wouldn't necessarily grow outdoors in South Florida.
So what are some of those things?
Well, we have a palm, a very unique palm here, that is called Socratia exorhiza, or walking palm, and it's native to very cool but tropical jungles in South America. We also have a very large Australian tree fern that grows here, which does very well in this type of climate-controlled environment. But originally, this was not enclosed. The
So
entire
it was an
villa,
open-air courtyard.
The entire villa was open to the breezes and the weather and everything. So this really was an indoor-outdoor space, much like a lot of the houses that are being designed and built today, because we do truly have an indoor-outdoor climate here year-round.
Well, Ian, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and your knowledge of all things here in the gardens at Vizcaya. This has been a treat for myself and hopefully to everyone watching. This has really been spectacular.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure to have you here today. And don't forget to check out vizcaya.org for all of the details on our centennial celebrations this year.
That's a big one.
It is.
The centennial. Thank you so much, Ian. We really enjoyed this today.
Pleasure.
And now let's take a look at what design inspiration we have planned for you next week on SoFlo Home Project. Advances in LED technology have given us a wide variety of beautiful lighting options for the home. We have expert advice on how to choose the right lighting for just about any room. And before we go, let's check in with Hunter Frankie, the host of SoFlo Health, and see what he has going on tomorrow. Hunter, what's up?
Hey there, Alena. Check out the view. We're at a local state park, which is kind of redundant when you think about it, but it's in Broward County, and we're going to explore this barrier island and go on a little bit of a nature walk through one of their trails, and of course, we'll hit the beach. We also head down to South Beach, where we experience some brand new technology that is combining AI with ultrasound and helping people improve mobility by getting rid of scar tissue that they have. We'll find out tomorrow on SoFlo Health, right here on the one and only Local 10 at 12:30.
Thanks, Hunter. We will definitely be watching. And to our viewers, thanks so much for joining us this week. And we hope to see you again next week for another episode of SoFlo Home Project right here on Local 10. And remember, there's no place like SoFlo Home. If you missed any part of this episode, or if you're looking for more design inspiration, make sure to check out all episodes online at SoFloShows.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram.